with the stream button on. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first ever Spellbinders live chat. I appreciate everyone who's taking the time to pop on. We may have more people hop in as we go. It's kind of like a free for all. Any Spellbinders that kind of like want to jump in, hang out with us, chit chat. That's great. And everyone else can kind of like come hang out in the comments, and we will respond to you there as well. Oh, and we got another person who just joined. Hello, Morgane.
Hello, Wizard. Hello, everybody.
How's it going?
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. This is exciting.
Excellent. Yeah, perfect timing.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I mean, we got a lot of people here. Like, we've all kind of like met already in our Discord. But why don't we kind of like go around if everyone's comfortable with it and do some like quick intros? Tell us, where you're located, a little bit, but like a little bit about yourself and what you're reading. Why don't we start with? We'll kind of go clockwise. I'll put you on the spot, Monique. You're at the top for me.
I'm Monique. I am from Melbourne in Australia. At the moment, I've been reading The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. It's the first book in the Lycanius trilogy. I'm about a third of the way through, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Excellent. Paul?
Sorry, unmute. Yeah, I'm Paul. I'm also in Melbourne. I don't know Monique. It's just that obviously Melburnians are marvelous people, and we all love your channel. So I've been working in IT for like decades, and focused mostly on nonfiction, with a focus on psychology. And recently did a psychology degree as a mature age student, which was fun. And most of my reading has been, pretty dense reading, and I really wanted to enjoy it more. So watching your content a lot to sort of prompt me and guide me into new areas around fantasy and other areas that you've talked about. And I've only read one book that you've suggested so far because I'm fairly new. That was Pines by Blake Crouch. And by the end of it, I really did love the story, but it took me a while. Your encouragement to read it,
sure.
saying it's an amazing book, got me there. So that's my sort of background and where I'm at.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. No pressure or anything guiding you into fantasy and sci-fi as you explore that genre more. Hopefully, I don't steer you in the wrong direction. Yeah, no pressure. I'll go to Joe.
Hello. So I'm from the UK. So it sounds like we've pretty much got people from all ends of the earth today, which is good. So I'm from the UK. I am relatively new, I would say, to actually adult reading. It was probably about 3 years ago I started reading again. I read a fair amount in my teenage years, but I'm back to it. And full on in it. I managed to get through 68 books last year. Currently trying to tackle Dead House Gates, book 2 of Malazan, but it's a pretty big book. It's like 900 pages, so it's taken me a little while. What else? I also have a psychology degree, really randomly. So there you go. We two of a psychology degree, 2 from Melbourne. Let's see if we can get any other duos up as we go along as well.
That's cool. That's cool. Don.
Hey, I'm over here in Abbotsford, which is just outside of Vancouver in Canada. Similar to Joe, I guess I started reading again seriously, I guess, about a year and a half ago. When I was in high school, English was my thing. I read a lot of harder books, I guess, because my English teacher was he was a cool teacher, but he didn't take it easy on us. Things like Kafka, 1984, like some pretty, big books for that age. And so so I read a lot in my younger years, and then just life, kids, all the excuses. And then I actually travel for work. So I've got a lot of free time on my hands, and I'm just like, I got tired of watching YouTube, no offense. But I watched a lot of YouTube on the road, and I'm like, I'm just tired of it. And then I think it was, Silo is the TV series, but Wool is the book. And I just, the second season was coming up, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to read the book. And you read through the book in a day and a half or 2 books, and you're like, oh, I've made this, I can do this. And then you get into the second book, and you've spoiled the end of the second season and probably the third season. And I might as well finish the whole thing. And that kind of set the ball rolling. And, I think I did 57 books last year, which was pretty good. And then right now I'm reading Tackling War and Peace over in Tory Talks Discord, and also The Magician. Ordered the board combining series last year because I got in on the subscription, and the first series they make you take it kind of thing, and it wasn't something that I ever wanted to read, but now Mike's Book Reviews is doing it, so I'm kind of jumping in on that one to kind of read the books that have just been sitting on the shelf. So that's kind of what I'm reading right now. So
nice. I need to read more of the books that are on my shelf instead of doing what I did
Yeah,
today, going just buying more.
I'm trying to do a soft book ban this year, like, because I bought a lot of books last year, and it's like I've got to start reading some of the ones I have. So yeah,
I think we've got a couple of people. Good segue over to Shannon, who is also on a book buying ban.
I am. I'm Shannon. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and I'm pretty new to the fantasy genre. I'm coming off of nonfiction, and after about a decade or so, I've been reading right out of the womb, basically. My first book club actually was a Sesame Street book club. And so I'm on a book ban, so I'm trying to read everything that's on my book. I think I own 157 books on my shelves that I have to work through, and then I have a pretty extensive library, a public library as well. So trying to work through the prompts that you have going on for 2026, picking off my shelves and from the library. But other than that, that's me.
Nice. That's really cool. And welcome back, Morgan. Can you hear us?
Hi.
Hi.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Hi. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my my internet at the moment.
That's okay.
So if I disappear, I disappear. I'm on this Malazan. Absolutely loving it.
Good.
Would never have thought to pick it up except for you guys recommending it and everybody saying how good it was. I thought I'd do it as a sort of buddy read along, which is great. I'm from the UK, so I live in Cumbria, which is the far north part of England.
That's that's where I live as well. That's really random, isn't it? We got
You're
two
in
Melbourne
Cumbria.
and two
Whereabouts?
Cumbria.
Whereabouts?
Penrith.
Oh no, really? I'm just outside Wigton. That's half an hour away.
That's really funny.
Excellent. I teach at a secondary school, so I deal with students between the ages of 12 and 16, and absolutely love reading. I always try to read 52 books in a year, one per week, but last year I only read about 20 odd, so I'm pushing myself this year.
I mean, 20 books for the average person is still a lot of books.
Yeah.
I think my grand total for books last year was 36, which I think is lower than most people here. Usually I'm like a book every week and a half-ish or so. Depends on the length of the book, but I read some really long books last year.
Yeah, that's the key, is to try and find some shorter ones to throw in there with the 900 pages. I mean, there should be a way to count a 1,200 page book as like 3 books or something.
It should be at least 2 books.
Yeah.
I'm currently reading a few different things. So I'm reading The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories with Tori's Discord and yourself, Don. And then I'm also reading The Lathe of Heaven by Ursula K. Le Guin. It's my first Ursula K. Le Guin book. So I'm reading this actually with Carl over at Please Read Your Book. We're doing a little buddy read on that. Super short book. Speaking of fitting in short books, I'll be able to read this in a couple of days. Nice and easy. Then I've also got this one that I'm buddy reading with Rachel, The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. It's like a Wizard Academy kind of book. It's really fun. Not something that I would have picked up kind of on my own. The goal is kind of help her get out of a reading slump. And it seems to have worked. She's way further ahead in that book than I am. So we'll call that one a success. And then I also did like a little book haul today, which I wasn't going to do, but after finishing Malazan, I had to go get the next 2. And I'm supposed to wait until February to buddy read it, but can I wait until February? I don't know. I haven't stopped thinking about Malazan since I put it down.
Yeah.
I ended up going for the ebook for Malazan because I struggle to hold big books comfortably.
That's fair.
So I almost bought, because I found the really nice cover of what's the one that you just did a video about? What's it called again? The King Solo.
King
So
Sorrow.
I found really nice hardcover, like the one with the edges.
Yeah.
And I picked it up and opened it, and I was like, I don't think I can actually hold this book comfortably because it is so big. So I always go for the ebook version when on big books. And I think Malazan's one of those series as well that just keeps getting bigger and bigger as you go on the series. So
Yeah, it's kind of like Stormlight Archive that way.
yeah. Or
That's actually why. Go ahead.
I was going to say all the Bound and the Broken, which is ridiculous. I've actually paused it for the minute because the first book is 500, the second book is 800, and then the third book is 1,000, and then the fourth book's 1,600. And I was like, what? I didn't sign up to this. So
are they? Do they do it on? Do we think they do it on purpose? Like making each book longer? Do they purposely go into it trying to make them longer?
Yeah, maybe. He's saying that the final book as well that he's writing now is probably going to be longer than that as well. Like, how can you get longer?
How they're
going to
physically put it together? I mean,
yeah, exactly.
They're already too big.
At some point,
I don't know. I mean,
break it into 2 books.
I think that's getting for one book. That's I don't know. I feel like it's excessive. I mean, I think there's got to be a way to tighten that up a little bit. Like,
well, is it like where Ernest Hemingway was paid by the word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You'd think they still were paid by the word.
No, and it makes it harder to publish, right? Like that's what I'm saying is like these guys are putting these massive books out. It's one thing if you're Sanderson, it's another if you're. I mean, Ryan's pretty successful, I think, at this point, but that's a big book. Like that's a big book.
It always used to be as well. Like War and Peace, it was the one that was used as the example of the stupidly long one, and that's like 1,300 pages, and it's like. Oh, okay. Well, Wind and Truth was longer than that I read last year, and then Empire of Dust is way longer than that I might read at some point if I can be bothered.
Yeah.
I think at a certain point, though, it becomes the density of the prose that makes the difference rather than the length of the book. Because I find like most fantasy is really easy to read unless it's something like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and then it's as dense as reading a 19th century book.
Yeah, the reason that I haven't finished Wind and Truth yet is like I was really excited for it when it came out, so I pre-ordered it, I bought it, but then I got the giant hardcover and it's still sitting on my shelf because it was just too uncomfortable to read. And I was like, I mean, I could also buy the ebook, but do I want to buy the book twice? There are other ways to get the ebook if I wanted to do that. But I was like, at this point, I'll just wait. Like, I read the rest of Stormlight Archives as just like the mass market paperbacks, because I think for those like really chunky books, even with like something like Malazan, they're so much easier to read in that like little form factor than trying to like lug around a giant book, or just do what you did and get the ebook.
Yeah, definitely.
I do a lot of ebooks too because it's harder to put a 1,200 page book in your backpack, right? So when I've got the Kindle, I can kind of grab things and it's a lot easier to travel with. So
yeah, that's fair.
I do. The biggest problem I have with the Kindle is buying books because it's just so easy to press a button and buy a book, and then it's on your device. So I think on my physical shelves that I've not read I'm probably around like the 10 to 15 books that I haven't read, and then on Kindle I'd hate to actually go into my library and look at how many books I bought when they've gone down to 99p that I might read in 2040 if I get around to it.
But I found Kindle Unlimited. I found so much on Kindle Unlimited that I'm paying the monthly fee, but I'm not buying a bunch of books. And if I put it on my Kindle list or Kindle Unlimited list and I don't read it, then I just take it off and put something else on it. So that's worked out pretty good for me. And then I also have a Kobo because of that I need a Kobo to access my library because I can't get it on the Kindle. So
yeah, it's funny. The Kindle does the library has Libby integration in the US, but for whatever reason doesn't here. And we can if we want to use Libby, we have to use a Kobo.
I bought a Kindle originally, and then I literally bought it, came home, I was so excited to try to set up Libby, and I'm like, there's got to be a way to do this. So I'm like on the Google for like an hour, and then I'm like, I need to go back to the store. I do not want this thing. I mean, most of my books, especially if I'm on a buying bin, I have to have Libby.
Yeah, and then Rachel too says can't beat the 99-cent bargain, and that is exactly my problem. I'm always talking about like save money on buying books. Like you don't have to buy physical books. You can get all these great deals like on Kobo or whatever. And then I got like a recap from Kobo for last year, and it was like you bought 172 books, and I was like, I didn't read anywhere near that. Am I ever going to read these books? Like I don't know, but I've got them now. 172 books I didn't intend to buy.
The worst one I did.
Go ahead.
The worst one I did, which actually is going to be a good thing, is I bought because it was 99p. I bought Bone Hunters for Malazan, which I think is book 8 or book 7, before I'd read a single Malazan. So I had bought book 8 just because it was 99p, and I was like, oh, I might read it one day. And yeah, luckily I do like Malazan and probably will get there, but I could have just had a book 8 for no reason.
Are you still enjoying? I know we've talked about this a few times, but I've heard Dead House Gates is a lot more dense than the first one. Are you still enjoying that?
So I think I'm 35% of the way through now, and it seemed to start with very separate storylines, if that makes sense, which then have now started to come together. Whereas I feel like in how I remember Gardens of the Moon anyway is, although they were separate, you could still sort of see that they were in the same part of the world and like still interacting. Whereas this one, there was like 4 storylines, and I was like, that were completely different. And I was like, how the hell are they going to bring this together? And then they do bring it together. So now there's technically 2 storylines, like they brought it from 4 to 2. So that was just one thing, but when you think of like the Stormlight Archives, they didn't actually bring the main characters together till book 2, and then all of them till book 3. So it's not a big problem. It was just a bit disjointed, and there's a few names that are just too similar, and my brain just cannot do that. Like when there's two names that begin with like DU, I'm just, every time I read them, I'm like, which one is that again? I can't remember. So I had
and it's harder when you're reading digital too to switch back to like the list of names to read through it.
Yeah, exactly. So in this book, because you've probably heard, there's loads of like Malazan resources and spreadsheets to track things and stuff. And I was always like, I don't really want to be doing that. But I have gone online and just checked, like, who the hell was this guy again? Especially because
I spent a lot of time in the Dramatis Personae page. Who is this guy again? I remember.
Because there was one that came up, and I was like, I really recognise him. I won't say it because I guess it might spoil that he lives in the first book. But I was like, I swear I remember this name from the first book, but I cannot remember who he is at all. So I had to go and look it up online. I was like, what did he do in the first book again? And he doesn't really do much. He does pop up in the first book, but doesn't do much. And he's more in the second book. And so I still wouldn't call it complicated, like loads of people say about Malazan. It's just different. So I think in this book there's like 33 perspectives. But there's only actually 4 storylines you're following still. It's just you'll get the perspective from the soldier, and then you'll get the perspective from the mage, and then you'll get the perspective but still in the same storyline. So I wouldn't say it's complicated yet, but I am only a third of the way through. It might get more complicated as I go on.
I know, Morgan, you're reading Gardens of the Moon now. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely loving it so far. I've got a little crib sheet where I've just put down the main characters that are in at the moment. It just stops me flicking backwards and forwards between the list of people and where I am. But absolutely loving this book. It's fantastic.
How far in are you so far?
Only about a quarter. Just starting book 2.
Nice. Yeah. Book 2 is the first time I think book 2 flips to the one other storyline that they're following before they kind of start converging.
I think it goes so like book 1 and book 3 are both in the same continent, and then book 2 and book 4 are in the same continent, but they're on like other sides of the world pretty much. And then book 5 is when it's like bigger and epic. Apparently, I haven't got there yet.
I love the way it just drops you into the middle of all the action, and all of a sudden you're just there. Nothing explains, just you're there.
Yeah.
And I think that's what throws so many people off is like kind of like being confused. They don't tell you what's going on. They don't tell you, you know, you don't have any sort of like backstory as to like what's happening in the world. You're just kind of like dropped into it and you have to kind of like figure it out as you go. And I think that throws a lot of people off, but I found it really fun.
I was one of the people, I probably was 17, 18 at the time, and I just walked into a Waterstones and wanted to read more fantasy, and he was like, oh, so what kind of things have you read before? And I said, oh, pretty much Lord of the Rings is the only fantasy I'd read at that point.
Yeah.
And he handed me Malazan, Garden of the Moon, and I and I like read maybe 50 pages and was like, I have absolutely no idea what is going on. And then put it down. And that was genuinely one of the reasons I didn't read fantasy for a long time, because I was like, oh, I'm too stupid for this.
Yeah, not a good place to start.
In hindsight, like handing that to someone and that's just, a little 17-year-old kid that's like, oh, yeah, I've read Lord of the Rings once, is mental. Like, how did he
that
think
feels like
that
a
was going to go well?
Yeah.
So definitely not a starter series for anyone, I would say.
Rachel here said she loves when books include a previously in the series and there's like a summary. Does Malazan do that? Is there like a previously in Dead House Gates? Is it like fill you in case it's been a while, or just drop you back in?
No, I think it was. I watched an interview with, I think it was Brandon Sanderson and Ryan Carhill actually talking about that idea. Someone in the audience asked them why they don't do it previously at the beginning of their books, and both of them, because they're writing massive crazy books, was like, well, the previously would be 300 pages. And
I was just going to say, could you imagine what it would look like?
Yeah. There's like, if for Wind and Truth, for example, if you had to do a previously for the last 4,500 pages of the Stormlight, that's going to have to be big in itself. So I imagine as an author, it's very hard to do that, but it is very helpful to remind you.
I know somebody who's good at doing the previouslys is John Gwynn, at least with like the Bloodsworn saga. Every one of those books had like a previously, and I found those quick little recaps to be really helpful.
And I really appreciate YouTubers that do those recaps, because that's how I did. I've completely forgot his name, but someone did them for the Stormlight Archives, and it's just a 30-minute video that just sort of reminds you where each character is at the end of the book, so that when you pick it up, you go straight into it. Because usually when you start reading a book, you can remember and get back into the flow of it, but that helps you just being there from the beginning.
Yeah. And then David, shout out David, another one of our Spellbinders, says the last sci-fi fantasy book that he read was the Poppy War series. In fact, he's read all of the RF Playing books. Has anybody else read those yet?
She's on my list to try in 2026, because I haven't read a single one of her books. So
Same.
Yeah, I've read
it's on my
Catabasis and I
shelf,
have
but
the Poppy War. Haven't read them.
Yep, same. It's one of those, you keep seeing it in the bookstore and you're like, fine, and you grab it and then it sits. But yeah.
I wanted to
another
read
one
it,
I've
but
also
then I heard
got
it was
some-
also very hard to read sometimes, so I'm kind of hesitant to get into that.
Yeah.
I've got a question, Mr. Wizard. You
Sure.
read a lot of books at the same time. Roughly how many? And what happens when you're doing buddy reads and the main character has the same name in two books? Because that totally undoes me if the main character has the same name.
So you know what? For me, I usually don't read multiple books at the same time. I'm trying to like juggle a little bit more this year. So this is actually the first time that I'm ever reading like multiple books at once, with like the short stories collection that I'm doing, plus the Rachel buddy read, plus the one for Carl's YouTube channel. I'm this time around, like previously I would get very confused, which is like why I didn't do it. Like storylines would start to mesh. But I'm finding this time around, like the three books are different enough that I'm not having that problem. Like the Ursula K. Le Guin is like a short kind of like sci-fi story. The short stories series by Ken Liu is like, they're all more like literary fiction with like some fun sci-fi elements that are kind of like built into some of them. So I'm just kind of reading one of those a day, kind of like separate from the rest of my reading, which makes that really easy. And then I have like the one main actual book that I'm reading with Rachel, which is like the more fantasy style book. But I know we have a lot of people in here who do regularly read multiple books at a time, so I'd like to hear from you guys how you juggle them.
I do an audio book and a physical book, so I don't know if that counts, because it's technically two books at the same time, but because they're two completely different mediums, it doesn't I don't get confused anyway. So that's how I do it.
I'm the same. I
Yeah.
don't generally get confused. It's, I guess it's like my mother is the same way. She's like, well, how do you keep everything straight? And it's akin to keeping different relationships as just separate categories to me. So
Yeah.
I don't get them mixed up.
Yeah, I'm the same. I do. I can't read like two fantasies or two mysteries at the same time. I try and have a fantasy, a thriller, something like that. The different things going on, and I've always got an audiobook on the go because when I'm on the road driving, I've usually got one of those going on. But when I read Gardens, I couldn't read anything else. That was all that my brain could handle. So it was like to keep that straight was a lot. Not that it's hard. It just requires a certain focus and concentration when you're reading it to keep everything that's going on kind of straight. So when I was reading that or something like that, I might only read one book, but
I love reading two at the same time when there's a link between them, but the main characters have different names, and maybe a historical fiction or something like that, and they're set at the same time, and you get different perspectives in the same world, which is really cool, but they're just totally different books. Like I remember reading When Nietzsche Wept, which I really enjoyed, and that's got a lot of historical components to it, and another book, I can't remember right now, but it's late 1800s at the same time, and you saw the same sort of issues pop up with different perspectives, and I found that really, really fun to read.
That's cool.
I imagine that'd be really cool to do in the fantasy genre, in terms of like a Star Wars books or Dragonlance books, or like books where there's like 200 plus in the same world, but they're not a series. Trying to do that would be interesting.
What about you, Monique? You look like you have something
Yeah.
funny going on today.
Yeah, the cat is just deciding to be a little bit of a goblin. He's up on the table now.
Nice.
But yeah, I don't normally do multiple books at once. But with Dungeon Crawler Call, because I know I was going to be doing it exclusively through audio, I am having less trouble than I thought I would keeping track of multiple things, just because it's like, as Joe said, it's like a completely different medium, so it's like easier to keep track of like one versus the other because they're completely separate in your mind.
I do think a lot of people compare it to TV shows. Like, well, you can be in the middle of 3 TV shows series at the same time,
that's
but
true.
I think
That's fair.
it is a bit different to that, because when you're reading, it's obviously your brain that is creating those scenes, your brain that's creating those characters, and you're putting your own biases into that. So, like, my version of those characters in Gardens of the Moon are going to look different than your versions of those characters, and I feel like you probably put your own biases into every single book, if that makes sense. I'm not sure if I explained that very well, but whereas when it's there's the cat, whereas when it's a TV show, you're obviously seeing the actor and the director's view on the story, so it's a bit different.
I love having a special guest. That's great.
Crayfish.
Crayfish? That's a great name for a cat.
Cat name. Oh, there we go. We
We're
got another
cat
cat.
sitting him at the moment.
Cats for everybody. Those look like the same cat. Are you guys sharing a cat?
Tuxedos are very special.
They are.
Yeah.
To jump back to what Dawn was saying too, where you were saying that with Gardens of the Moon, you couldn't read multiple books at the same time. I was about to say the opposite. I found I was able to read Gardens of the Moon faster because I almost had like another palate cleanser to kind of like shut my brain off from Gardens of the Moon a little bit and read something that was like a little bit more like less complicated and chilled, and then go back into it and be able to like suck myself back into that world again.
I tried doing it once, but ended up just really liking one of the books more than the other, so I just read that the whole way through. So I had that issue. What was? Oh, it was at the time. It was Shadows of the Gods and Golden Sun, the second, the not Dead Rising. That's a Red Rising book, and I started them both and was like doing a bit of back and forth, and then I just really wanted to know what happened in Golden Suns. Ended up reading all of that and then finishing Shadows of the Gods.
Fair. Got a comment here. After reading Catabasis, was inspired to read The Divine Comedy. That's one that I haven't read, but I would love to read that. I'd love to know what you think of that so far. Got another one here from Pulp Monkey. Hey, Pulp Monkey. I agree. Going with different genres and doing an audio than a couple of fiction at a time. Yeah, totally agreed. Another comment here. I always have 2 or 3 on the go with different formats. I've never had an issue with keeping them all. We just hit my mic. In the same genre. Don't tend to mix them up. We've got another one here from Heidi. I read Gardens of the Moon and The Black Company at the same time. Very similar books. Black Company was more enjoyable to me. I don't know that that's one that I read. Has anyone here read Black Company?
Not yet. No.
I've got so many books I want to read.
I know.
Every time mentioned like Catabasis is a great example there. Like that wasn't even on my radar to read, and then now just from that one comment, I've been like, oh, I really want to read that. that book.
No, it's another one too that I like pre-ordered because I was like, maybe this is like a really good place to start. Finally, she's got a new book coming out. I'll start there. And then it's again just sitting on my shelf. Yeah. Typical. Yeah.
What are our thoughts on Wheel of Time? Is that worth the time and money investment?
So I've paused it after book 2. So I enjoyed book 1 quite a lot. And then book 2, I was like, not really sure about it. And everyone always talks about the slog, which I think is book 8 to book 10 or whatever it is, book 11. And I'm like, if there's a 4-book slog there,
yeah, I know,
and I'm already feeling a bit like, I'm not really into it. I was like, I can't warrant reading the rest. For me, the first book and the second book are almost the same book. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt like I had read the same book again. They're on a journey to go in this direction. Oh, the party has split and one of them gets screwed over. Oh, the party is back together and now this person's chasing them. Both books had that same structure, I think, in my head anyway. That's how it went. And it's all about, both of them are about a MacGuffin that they're trying to get. And it was, right. I almost felt like I'd read the book already, even when I'd finished it. I was like, oh, that's the same book. So that's my views on it. But obviously it's one of the most loved fantasy series of all time. So I am probably wrong.
Has anyone else read it?
No, it's not something I ever had the opportunity to read as a kid. And I feel like it's so far gone now and there's so many books. I don't know if I want to touch it.
I'm the same. Like, I don't know, like Joe was saying, like, I'm nervous to start a series that long when people talk about a 3-4 book slog. Like, that's just makes me really nervous to start something that long. And because if enough people say it, that it's got to be somewhat true. Right. So
I just heard the payoff. Like I know somebody who went through it and they just said, like, just, you have to get through it and have to get through it. And then at the end, they're like, the payoff was not worth it. So, I mean, it's different opinions for different people. And I don't know if I want to invest the time in it. So I thought I'd get your thoughts on it.
Yeah. We have one person who says, don't listen to Joe. Wheel of Time is an experience. And what is a MacGuffin? A MacGuffin is just like an object that they're trying to find, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So in the first book, it's the Eye of the World, title of the book. So they go into the Eye of the World, and then the second book, it's a sword. I can't remember what the name of the sword is, but they're going to find a sword. So that's what I meant by that. But this is, the great thing about reading is that someone else's experience is going to be completely different to mine.
Agreed.
And I completely forgot his name. Well, there's a YouTuber that put his favorite series of all time as the Dark Tower series. And I read the first book of that and was like, this is one of the worst books I've ever read. But everything else he recommends on his YouTube channel, I love. So it's always good. That's why all of these hobbies are good because everyone has a different experience. And me and you have quite a lot of similars, but then there have been a few where, like, Royal Assassin is one that I know you loved, and I was a bit like meh on it. So everyone's got their own tastes, and that's fine.
It is. It's a good thing. It reminds me of, like, especially the whole conversation around, like, there being a slog in the middle. I just finished editing a video probably for next week where I'm talking about, like, why we should all DNF more books, and that being one of them. Like, is it really worth, like, if for the rest of your life you get to read, like, maybe in like a total of like 2,500 books, depending on how many books a year you read, is it worth wasting 4 books that might be a slog to you when you could be reading 4 books that you might like really love? Like, is it really worth that time? Like, what do you want to do with those 2,500 slots that you have? Because you kind of have to like be smart about how you use them.
I never DNF'd in my life until my friend said something very similar. It's like the number of books you'll get to read in your life is finite, and if you keep reading what you don't love, then you're missing out on things that you're going to love. And that's when I started DNFing, and that was only like not even 10 years ago.
And you recently got into fantasy, right? Like, what was the book that got you into it?
Into fantasy?
Into fantasy and into like nonfiction, because that's what you had said. Like, you had spent a lot of.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I was in lit-fic, and then when I went into nonfiction, it was just in this whole like self-development phase of my life where I'm just like, I want to be better at this, and I want to learn about. Like, I'm a homework type of girl. I like working and like studying and stuff like that. Like, one summer break, I spent my summer break researching just for funsies. So then I decided, like, okay, I think I'm not getting any new information based on any books I'm picking up. So I also dabble in writing, and I'm curious about fantasy. So I went to this online workshop, and they're starting to talk about plots of certain books, and I'm like, jeepers, like, that's in a book, like all of that in that many pages, and I'm like, that has to be absolutely incredible. So I think I'm trying to remember the first book that I got into. I want to say it was Final Empire. I bought Way of Kings, and then my friend was just like, no, don't start there, start with Final Empire. And I've been working my way slowly through Brandon Sanderson because I'm loving it so much that I want to kind of treat myself. So I'll read like Brandon Sanderson and then like 4 or 5 books, and then the next book, and then 4 or 5 books, and then so on.
That's cool. That's such like a common place to start too with like fantasy. When I've always read fantasy like a little bit, but I had like a very long slump where I really wasn't reading anything for like several years. That was like the book that got me back into reading and back into fantasy, and I think a lot of people say the same thing.
Same.
Yeah, same. There you go.
I think I'm a bit of an outlier here because my first book back into fantasy was actually Jade City by Fonda Lee. So the Greenbone Saga was my re-entry point last year.
See, guys, we've angered the world of the Wheel of Time fans. They're coming
what I'm
for
really
us.
loving, I'm loving like how different the opinions here, because we have like multiple people who are saying like, you know, I DNF'd it, or I started feeling like a slog in the middle of the books, and then other people being like, absolutely not. There's no slog. The slog isn't real. They're some of the best books. So I mean, clearly they're polarizing. So I mean, worth a shot, especially if you want to kind of like, we know that Brandon Sanderson kind of finishes the series. So if you're a big Brandon Sanderson fan, maybe it is worth making it through the middle.
I do think there's nothing really like the satisfying conclusion of a long series. It's really hard to it's hard to land a jump first, and it's hard to replicate that feeling in like a standalone book, I think. So a lot of people say that the ending of The Wheel of Time is good. So that might be one plus to go through all of the books, is just for that feeling of a satisfying end to a long series.
Yeah, it's another series that I want. Go ahead.
I think the more you put into it, the more blood, sweat, and tears goes into reading all those pages, the more the payoff really does hit home. It's really great. But I really don't like it when you start a book and you think it's going one way, and it's as if the author's just changed something. And by the time you get to the end, it's like a different type of story. Like that contract you get at the very beginning doesn't seem to hold. So like, I've written one book and I decided because of my hate of having to DNF books, I'm going to make my prologue the gate. If you love the prologue, fantastic. If you don't, just DNF it straight away. And I would wish more people would write the books like that, so I'd know which ones to DNF after 20 pages, not 200.
I feel like you would struggle with A Song of Ice and Fire if you don't like things that twist and turn and go ways you don't expect. Because I feel like the thing I got frustrated with in George R.R. Martin's writing is it feels like he's trying to be contrarian as he writes. Like he sets things up to go one way and then people figure it out and he's like, oh no, wait, I don't want people to figure it out. I'm going to like take a hard left here and do something completely different.
That's fair. I've heard that for sure.
I had I didn't actually go on to the second book of the Painted Man, it's called over here, but I think in America it's called The Warded Man, the Demon Cycle series. Has anyone heard of that? But everyone. Oh, okay. So book one, I read it and it was really good and I really enjoyed it. And I looked it up. I didn't even realize it was part of a series at this point. It was just a friend told me to read it. And there's 6 books, I think, or 7 books in the series. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I went to look up book 2, and I think it has like a free 2.3-star rating on Goodreads, or it had a really low rating. I was like, oh my god, like what the hell happened here? And essentially, book 2 is completely different characters, but set 50% through the middle of book 1. So you're reliving the same time period as book 1, but from different characters from a different perspective that aren't like a big part of book 1. So people fell in love with the characters and the storyline of book 1, and then all of a sudden went into book 2 with different characters at a different point in the timeline. So I decided not to continue it because of what Paul said, where I signed up. I wanted to learn more about these characters and what's going on here, and I didn't want to have to do it. But then saying that, Malazan's also, the book 2 is completely unrelated to book 1 so far, but hopefully after a few books it all comes together. There's a few characters which are the same, but yeah, that's
interesting. And Paul, you had said that you've finished one book before. Do you want to tell us a little bit about your book?
Well, yeah, so I finished psychology studies just recently, and I was just fascinated with the way our mind works, and with AI popping up. I was at a park with my partner, and we saw this Great Dane, and the Great Dane reminded me of the dog from the series with the big Great Dane in it. Anyway, I said, "Is that a clever dog? Is the Great Dane's clever?" I got my phone out, put ChatGPT on, and I asked, and it said, "Oh yeah, they're quite trainable." And then I asked about our Maltese poodle, and it answered the dog's name with my partner's last name is a very clever dog. And I thought, I haven't told it any of those things at all. It just totally freaked me out. And I used that moment to spawn and join up my my knowledge of psychology recently acquired with 30 plus years of IT to write a book about AI and the horrors of companion AI stuff. So it was sort of like a passionate subject matter for me. And also, I hate the idea of AI being involved in the therapeutic process. So it's about that. But since writing it, I've realized I actually don't know where to put the book in terms of what genre to put it. And I thought I better actually learn, better read some fantasy books, better read some this and that, and figure out where these books go, and just open up my eyes to other material a bit different to mine. But it's called The Companion's Whisper. It's got quite a few people have read it on Amazon, which is nice. Not many on Goodreads. So I love that. It's the sort of book I like to read. Lots of different point of views, and the AI itself is really, really awful.
That's cool. I will definitely post I'll leave a link once this video goes up in the description for anybody who wants to go and check your book out. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
We've got a super chat here from David, one of our members, who says, do Brandon Sanderson books live up to the booktube hype? If so, should I start with Warbreaker? Interesting question. I would say yes and no, at least from my opinion. I would say that I think Brandon Sanderson is definitely overhyped, but I think he's like overhyped for a reason. Like I think the books are really good, and I think they're a really great like place to start for fantasy. I think the Stormlight Archive is like one of the greatest things that I've ever read. But I would say as far as I haven't read Warbreaker personally, so I don't know if you should start there. I think some people say that you should start there, but I would say you should probably start with Mistborn. And if Mistborn is for you and you enjoy that trilogy, then start to like move on and explore other things, Elantris, Warbreaker, Stormlight Archives, or even some of the standalones. I don't know what's everybody else's thoughts here. And also, thank you very much for the super chat. I very much appreciate it.
I think Sanderson is an excellent author in terms of world building. If you're after flowery prose, not for you. Like he's very direct with how he writes, which can take it or leave it. His books tend to be a very slow burn, and then they end in the Sanderlanche, which is why it's called the Sanderlanche. So you'll find that like the last quarter of the book is where everything really starts to pick up and happen all at once. In terms of good entry points to start with, I would actually have 3 different ways that you could go. If you're wanting to commit to a trilogy, I would say the first Mistborn trilogy, starting with the Final Empire, is excellent. If you want to see something more recent that he's written, with a slightly different tone that shows a little bit more of what he's capable of now, Tress of the Emerald Sea is a really good starting point. And if you're just wanting a really small taste, I would actually recommend the novella The Emperor's Soul, because I found that was like structurally incredibly interesting, because it was kind of a small, what happens in a single room, what can he do with that, and how to develop a magic system in that. I found that really interesting. But I think Warbreaker, you kind of want to know a little bit more about the Cosmere and how it works first, because the magic system in that is a little bit more dense than, say, the metal-based magics in Mistborn, and it relates a bit more to how magic works in the Stormlight Archive and the rest of the Cosmere. But yeah, I think it's worth reading 100%, but how hyped he is, your mileage will vary based on your taste.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Any other thoughts there? Anyone else?
I was just going to say I've only read the Final Empire, so I can't really comment too much. But my opinion or view on it is you can't write as much as Brandon Sanderson writes and hit a home run every time. Yeah. Like there's no way, right? Like, and I think when the world is that massive, there's going to be disconnects and stuff like that. Like I loved the Final Empire, but in the last quarter of the book, I mean, I know how tin works. I know how copper works. I don't need to be told every 3 sentences how the magic system works. You've been telling me for the first 400 pages. So that was kind of annoying. But I mean, you're right on though. Like as far as his writing style is not, the prose is not overly dense or complicated. Like it's more to the point. And I think Final Empire, I think so many people say it's their entry point, and I think it's for a reason, because it's a good book and it reads well, it reads quickly. Like you're not getting this giant massive tome that you have to slog through. It's a fairly quick read, right? And it's fairly easy to get into. So
Morgan, have you read any Sanderson?
No, I haven't. Not yet. I've got a couple on my TBR shelf, but I've also got about 200 books on my TBR shelf, so I don't know when I'll get around to them.
Yeah, that's fair, for sure. Also similar to what...
always buy far too many books.
Yeah.
I've read them all. I say there's mainly from Rachel. Warbreaker's getting a lot of hate in the chat. So I think it was actually one of my favourite Branson books, which I think is a bit of a hot take. But I think Monique's right. I probably wouldn't suggest it as a starting one, because it is a little bit more dense in the wider Cosmere stuff. So probably wouldn't start there. I always just think the Mistborn trilogy is always going to be the best place to start in most cases, unless you want to go for a smaller one. And Rachel in the comments is also talking about the Shadows of Silence in the Forest, or whatever that one's called. I forgot. That's a 50-page or something, which is really good as well. So yeah, I'm always going to say start with Mistborn. I think there's a few cases to start with something else because Mistborn reads quick. Although I think it's like 450 pages, it still reads quite quick and is quite easy. As Monique said, again, it's not like flowery prose that you have to really concentrate for and stuff like that as well. So I would always suggest start there.
I'd also say it kind of depends on like how much fantasy you've already read. Like if you're somebody who's new to fantasy and you're looking to get into fantasy, I think Mistborn's like a really great gateway. But I think if you're somebody who's already read a lot of fantasy, you've read a lot of other epic fantasy series, Mistborn might not hit the same, and you might want to start with something a little heavier.
Yeah, definitely. This year, not this year, 2025 was like the year of the Cosmere. So, well, Cosmere, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and all of Joe Abercrombie's first lore world. I just went on an absolute rampage through all of them because I was enjoying them so much. So it's interesting to me to think what is going to be that this year. I think Malazan has already ticked that box. I'm probably going to smash my way through Malazan. I'll probably finish off all the Red Rising series as well. But yeah, I don't know what else. Any other big series that I'm gonna try and finish up this year.
That's a good segue into the 2026 reading challenge, which I wanted to talk about really quick as well. So for anybody who's watching who doesn't already know, we've got this 2026 reading challenge going on within our community, where the goal is to try and read as many of these as you possibly can. We have different categories. Is there any particular book that anybody's like really excited to read in 2026, or is there anything in here that you're like hoping to tick off or that you're already working on?
I need to load up my list now. I've forgotten what I said I was going to put.
Well, for my
A lot of us
Canadian
have
author,
planned them out.
for my Canadian author, I'm doing Dead House Gates in February, so I'm looking forward to getting back into Malazan.
Oh, is he Canadian? Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, him and Guy Gabriel Kay are both out of Winnipeg.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Went to the same high school, I think.
Well, I googled Canadian fantasy authors because I didn't have a clue where people are from, and I put in Jade City because apparently Vonderlee is from Canada.
Vancouver.
Well, so.
Yeah.
We did recently get a hot take from Rachel in here, where she was saying that there it is. Jade City was so boring.
You've got the banhammer.
Just kick her right out.
It says Warbreaker and Jade City are boring. Oh no.
I can actually kind of see where someone would find the first 2/3 of Jade City a little bit boring, though, with how much world building there is in the start. There's a point, though, and anyone who hasn't read it will immediately know what it is, where you just kind of go, oh, okay, I need to read all of this week.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's another one that's like been on my shelf, especially because I want to be able to support more Canadian authors, but I haven't started it yet. So that might be a this year. I'm trying to finish more series than start series, though. So we'll see.
Well, don't feel too bad because I think she lives in Washington State now, so she's not fully Canadian anymore. But yeah. So.
DNF at 200 pages, so she didn't make it.
Didn't get to the good bit.
I think 200 pages. Like if a book hasn't hooked you in 200
that's
pages,
fair.
I think it's fair to DNF. Yeah,
that's totally fair. I'm usually about, if I get to 100 pages, that's my kind of. If it's not going by then we're out. But
I usually give it like a 25% rule. That's my kind of like cutoff.
Yeah.
I think strangely for me, one I'm actually excited for at the minute to get into is I put in the book you're scared of is the Silmarillion. And I'm at the minute doing the Fellowship of the Rings, and just being back in that world, I'm just excited and want to do the Silmarillion, even though I've been scared of it for years. I shared it in your Discord, but I found a first edition of Silmarillion in a charity shop with like the map and everything. So, and I'm also just scared to open it in case it breaks because it's so old, and like it's got the really thin paper as well and stuff. But I'm quite excited.
Maybe like
about
leave it on your shelf and then like read the digital copy.
Yeah, I think I'll probably get a different copy for the actual reading. One is actually a new release for this year as well. Is Steel Gods, the second book after Grave Empire, because I really enjoyed Grave Empire. I've put that in horror. I think it's going to be horror. Obviously, it's not actually released yet, so don't really know. And And one I really struggled to pick was Litfic, because I just don't I'm not educated enough to know of Litfic books. So if anyone has any recommendations based off what I've said so far, I'm obviously a Wheel of Time hater and a Brandon Sanderson lover. So if that helps for Litfic picks, I
People
would
have been dropping
appreciate that.
some of their recommendations for Litfic. I think the definition that I have for Litfic is like pretty broad. So we'll I know Monique dropped some. You dropped some suggestions
Yeah.
in there too, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One I would definitely say holds up really well because it's so modern is Atonement by Ian McEwan. I studied it in high school, and it's excellent. Very easy to read, but also got some really interesting themes.
Rachel says the Litfic one might be tough as well. Oh, and then we've got this message from Paul. I've been going through them here. He just purchased the first Mistborn on audio, which is cool. So yeah, I think that's going to be a great segue for sure for you into Brandon Sanderson.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. No, I actually read that one, but most of his books are done by his audio books are done by the same duo. So I forgot their name. Same one that did the original Wheel of Time audio books. But I also quite like that dynamic where there's a woman that's doing the woman characters and a man that's doing the man characters, which does help quite a bit with the
I think
immersion.
it's Michael Kramer for the male narrator.
Yeah.
Cool. I think I've decided on my book that I had a different book, I think, set aside for like a book that scares you for that column. And I think I've changed book that scares you. And I think I'm going to pick up and also support Canadian. I think I'm going to read Heated Rivalry.
Never even heard of it.
Heated Rivalry is a Canadian gay hockey romance story.
Okay. Interesting.
Which is now a TV show.
Controversial one. Because is that the one that the actual person it's about is complaining that it's about them?
Maybe I haven't heard anything about that.
I think that's what it is. Someone wrote a story about someone, and then they've said, "Hey, this is me."
Interesting. Yeah, I know the lady who wrote the book actually lives like an hour and a half away from me, so she's also in Nova Scotia. And I was like, you know what? I'm not a romance reader. 2026 is about like getting out of my comfort zone and trying to like expand my reading horizons a bit. Let me try something like way out of left field.
Yeah, that's for scared. I put Akatar. So.
Yeah, there you go. Romantic.
Like
right? Exactly.
Scares the crap out of me. What if I like it?
I mean, romantasy at the end of the day is really just, I mean, we all read a lot of fantasy, and a lot of the fantasy that we read already has like romantic subplots in them. There's always like a love interest. So, I mean, it can't be that different. It's just fantasy with a little extra spice, right?
I read the first book in the Throne of Glass, which is Sarah J. Maas, and I had some problems with it, but I thought it was okay. And then I learned that she was 16 or 17 when she wrote that. She was like really young, and I was like, that's actually extremely impressive.
Yeah, right.
And hopefully her writing's obviously got better, but she was like really young when she wrote it. So I went from like I'm not really sure about reading any more of her books to being like, oh, okay, if she was that good at 16 or 17 or whatever it was, then hopefully she's only just got better. At the same time, I'm not a romance kind of guy either, so
same.
It's not too sure.
Excellent. Well, I mean, we're coming up on the end of our 1 hour live stream. I'd like to go around and just like hear what book you're most excited to read this year, and whoever wants to start can start.
Just start at the top again. Sorry to put you on the spot, Monique.
Yeah, no, absolutely fine. Like, just pick on me. That's fine. I think it's not so much a single book, but it's a series that I'm excited to finish off. I read the first book in The Expanse last year, and my short story pick for this year has been the short story collection related to The Expanse. So it's going to kind of force me through it. But I'm really excited because I loved the TV series, and I know the books are already so much better. So, yeah.
Nice, good pick. And I might start The Expanse this year, so we'll see how that goes. Paul, what are you excited to read?
So mine is actually Bleak House, which I've had a couple of attempts at it. The Charles Dickens book. It's quite long. It's quite dense, and talk about number of characters. I've heard that it's hundreds and hundreds of characters for a relatively small book. So yeah, that's what I'm most excited to read, but it's sort of a hard slog as well.
Nice. Cool.
I think,
Joe?
looking on the list of stuff that I think I'm going to be starting this year, I think the one I'm probably most excited about is Empire of Silence, to try out the Sun Eater series, because I've not read any of those books yet, and it's obviously got really good hype. So I'm quite excited to see what all that hype is about and get involved with that. Yeah, I think that's probably the one.
Yeah, I'm just going back to Deadhouse Gates. I'm looking forward to getting back into Malazan. Gardens was one of my favorites last year, so I'm looking forward to that. And then I think it's The Last Contract of Asako by Fonda Lee. Everybody's favorite. Yeah, no, but I ripped through the Jade Wars, or what is it? The Greenbone Saga. I ripped through that in like a week and a half. So I'm really looking forward to her new book coming out. And but Deadhouse Gates for sure. I want to get back into Malazan and start working through that this year. So.
I don't know exactly which one I would choose as my favorite. There's a few of them I'm really, really excited for. I think one of the ones I'm most excited for, based on the list that I have in front of me, is probably Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter, for a Canadian author. I've heard like crazy things about it, and it's unlike anything I've ever read before. So I'm really excited to jump into that or continue on with Brendan Sanderson's stuff, because where I am at in Hero of Ages, like my jaw dropped to the floor. I put down the book and I'm like, holy crap. So I don't know. I'm really excited about my entire TBR, and Rage of Dragons just seems like one of those ones outside of what I usually read. So I'm excited about that one.
Cool. What about you, Morgan?
I usually read sci-fi, fantasy. I like Stephen King. I like horror. The one book that I'm looking forward to this year that I haven't read of his is 11/22/63, and I've heard it's really, really good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite books of all time. Incredible book. Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, I think the one I think the one that I'm most excited to read this year is I want to pop back into the realm of the Elderling, so I'm excited to read Ship of Magic and get back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's a good one. I'm excited for that as well.
I'm scared to read Robin Hobb. It's going to make me cry.
Robin Hobb's amazing.
Yeah, I heard nothing but good things. It's on my TBR. I have it on hold at the library. I mean, there's several hundred people ahead of me, but I'm kind of reluctant to get into it, because one of those books that when I feel that strongly about a book and it makes me cry, I'll hold on to that for a while, and I don't know if I want to be sad for a while right now.
I'll say I don't think like the first trilogy didn't really like tug on my heartstrings too much. I don't know if that was just me. I don't know if it gets like more. I think it gets like more emotional, kind of like as you go into the series further. But I think you're probably safe to start with the first trilogy.
All right, good to know.
Cool. What were you gonna say, Joe?
I was just going to say, I think as well the next Dungeon Crawler Carl comes out this year as well, so I'm quite excited for that.
I have one more I still need to read.
I can't remember if is this one the last one, or is it? I think there's two left actually, so this will be the penultimate one as well. Just because I have absolutely no idea how he's going to round that off, because I won't spoil anything, but I have absolutely no idea how he's going to pull it off in 2 books anyway. So
hopefully he can stick the landing.
What he does, yeah. I'm worried he won't, but yeah, I'm excited.
All right, awesome. Well, I mean, for our first like members chat, I think this was awesome. I really appreciate the turnout. I appreciate everybody showing up. I appreciate everybody participating in the comments as well. And we're definitely going to continue to do these monthly. So I'm really looking forward to the next one. Thank you guys for coming, and we'll see you guys later. Reading is a treat.
Thank you.
And so are you. Bye.
Bye.